Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We're going to do the official start for the open board meeting, and then we will kick off the official setting direction. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back today. That's really brave of you. We appreciate it. Welcome to the February 24th, 2026 special board meeting for strategic planning for Arlington Heights School District 25. Today's meeting is the setting direction retreat for the strategic plan and is designated as a special board meeting due to the participation of more than 2 board members. With that, I call the special meeting to order. Lana, would you please call the roll?
Neerman?
Here.
Tranter? Jogi?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
Buchberger?
Here.
Thank you, Lana. Please stand if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now is the time in our agenda we set aside for community input. If a member of the public wishes to address any item on tonight's agenda, well, not tonight's, this morning's agenda, please complete one of the blue forms provided on the table and hand the card to Lana O'Brien. Lana, do we have any blue scripts? None, seeing none. Now I will hand it over to Dr. K.
Thank you, Anisha. Appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. All right, Anisha, you may return to your seats. As I'm looking at who is here and who is not here, I see group sizes are not equitable. So I may see if we have a couple people that are willing to jump out of a group and join ones that are a little bit smaller. I think that'll help for conversation. So I will do that once I hand the mic over to Perry. I'll look around to see if we can get some equitable sized groups. So if I'm with you and I tap you on the shoulder, it's not because I think you're not good at your group. I just may want your voice at a different group. So I will do that again once I give the mic to Perry. Thanks again for being here. I have just a moment to welcome everyone. Just as a reminder, we are in an open meeting, so we have microphones at all the tables, so that if we're going to do a whole group share out, we would want you to amplify your voice so everyone can hear it. It's not recording in the moment, it's only recording when you have it turned on. So again, this is our last in-person session together. I know some of you are gonna tear up. We have tissues for the moment. We do have breakfast items at any time in the morning. Go ahead and get some food for yourself. Bathrooms, I think you know where they're at this point. And then we do have lunch again at the very end. So we're going to end abruptly right at noon. But if you want to stay, this room is available to get food and come back. Or if you need to leave, we do have containers for you to grab food and then leave. Is Sandy Voss nearby? She might be outside. The only questions I've had leading up to today is, what's for lunch? So when I see Sandy come in, I will let you know what is for lunch. So without further ado, it's great to have Perry and Brian back. If Perry tells a joke about his wife beating him up, please don't believe him. He is happily here, unbeaten by his wife. He's told the joke once to me, and I'm like, you can't do that to everyone here. You can't do that, not to her. So thanks again for being here, Perry. Welcome, and I will kick it off to you. Thanks.
Thank you. I was just teasing when I said I had a little dermatology surgery yesterday. Nothing serious at all, just a little pre-cancerous kind of thing that they took a couple places off, but I have to keep a bandage on for 24 hours. So forgive my bandages today. But I'm great, and the report was really good. So all is well on that front. Kind of important for us to recognize that, as Brian told you, this is our final session together. And this is our day in which by the end of today, we will have every draft piece of the strategic plan put together. So you will recall that when we first met all together in this room, we had the data retreat and we produced the SWOT analysis. That was our product, and we shared it with everyone. We came back and revised it, and we will be using that SWOT analysis today when we get into making some big decisions about goals and strategies. At our second meeting, we really looked to the future. And last time, we really got into mission and vision and values. And one of the things that, if you recall, the board is pretty happy with the current mission and the current vision and the current values. However, as time passes, and as we look at the fact that we're going to spring this out another 5 years or so, we always want to take time to say, what changed? What little tweaks might we make? And last time we created a preferred future statement that had those tweaks. Between that meeting and this meeting, we've done 2 surveys. And I know that I've mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. I do want to tell you that I so like working with Adam. Adam is just so organized and has such a command of the technology and is able to conduct and use the survey in doing analysis work that, to be quite honest with you, he saved you money because he did things that I normally do. And so just want you to know, Adam, how much I appreciate you. You were sent a copy of the report from students and the report from staff. And we're going to use that feedback in our first activity today to go back and look once again at mission, vision, values, and see if there's any final little tweaks that we want to make. From that point on, we'll move into the setting direction retreat. The setting direction retreat is the final one because it answers the third essential question. The first essential question was, where are we now? That was the data retreat. We had to know what's good, what's not good, what's a strength, what's a weakness. We had to know where we are because we can't really get into improvement until we know where we're starting from. So we developed that shared understanding, and the product was the SWOT analysis. In the second meeting, where do we want to be? And that's bringing us ahead. Different than where we are right now, if we could dream, aspire, hope of what makes District 25 even better than it is today, what would that look like? And therefore, we put together a little revised vision, mission, core values. Today's question is, how do we get from where we are today to where we want to be down the road? So today is much more of a setting direction event. We are going to make some decisions today, and we have a lot of great products and a lot of great data to help us. We have one challenge, and that is we really have too much. And one of the things we know about strategic planning is that if a school district chooses too many goals and too many strategies, they don't do quality to anything. There's chaos. There's confusion. There's also a lack of resources because, to be quite honest, we don't have the money to do 35 new things. So our challenge today is going to be to help us figure out what are the critical most things we want to move forward with. And by the end of the day, we'll have those pieces in place and we'll be able to create a draft of the plan. We don't meet again for another month after today. And between that month, we'll have that draft and we'll be taking that draft to the board, taking that draft to other meetings, taking that draft to school meetings, giving people opportunity to look at that draft and give us any final feedback. Because one of the things that's really great about this process is that there are no surprises. By the time it reaches the board will have seen it so many times. We have wonderful participation of board among this team. And so we're at a place, a really good place, where in our last virtual meeting, we'll just be able to spend a little time saying, is there anything we neglected or anything we want to tweak before we turn that into a final recommendation? In order to get you started a little bit with some engagement, the first thing I'd like to spend, and I'm only going to spend about 5 minutes on it, is I would like for you at your table to reflect on the question. I want us to kind of recall, it's been almost a month since we've been together. What were your big takeaways from the vision retreat? When you think about what we did at that retreat, what were your takeaways? So you can begin the conversation. It's only a table conversation. Hopefully everybody can get engaged. And we'll spend 5 minutes recalling. Thank you.
just have you go to like a Chico's or
Actually-
whatever to print them out?
Do you want to take these
Yeah.
three?
I
Actually,
need tables.
one per table. Yeah.
Okay.
For this first activity, they actually have two posters. Brian has a printer in-house.
So he was able to print these
So
out.
sometimes the district prints them.
Yep.
Other times I have a very, very special guy at FedEx
There you go. They
that
can do
he
it
and
for
I
you.
are like this. They're all the I put some of them out. Thank you. I'm going to bring you back together. I thought it was really important that we start today with that little bit of reflection, because that's also a big piece of the strategic planning process that we're using. We're constantly having dialogue, producing something to look at, getting feedback, and then going back to it. So we're not guilty of one and done. The process very much is a continuous kind of thing that we're always looking at. Today is also a day of celebration and recognition. And at this point, I would love to have all of the students stand. It's all about you. It is all about you. And I think one of the hallmarks of the strategic management process that we use is that it requires student voice at the table. And we have been blessed with our students. They have been very much engaged, very much comfortable to talk. They've added lots to the quality of what we've done. We've certainly sought feedback, and you would see in the survey that we just did, we had well over 1,000 students' voices in that. So again, a hallmark of the process is voice. Because what we learn is that if this is our strategic plan, then we will live it together. If it's someone else's strategic plan, then they usually carry it out themselves. So kudos to the students for being a part. And at the separate time, and I know we have at least one board member not here today, but board members, would you stand? My thanks to all of you, because by law, this belongs to you. You are the only group that can approve a strategic plan for a school district. And there are many, many school districts where the superintendent and the board go into a closed session and derive a strategic plan, and then give it to everyone. And when we think about the power of being able to share that with others while still reserving the right to approve, we have such a more collaborative, more dynamic, more engaging process. So it has been a great opportunity to interact with all kinds of different perspectives around the room and to create things knowing that in the end the board really hasn't given up any authority. They have given up opportunity. And so the process itself really takes hold, because after we approve it, it's not like it's a surprise to people. Right? We can't engage everyone. We can provide opportunities. If they take the opportunity, their voice will be listened to. If they don't take the opportunity, then that's on them. But to provide that opportunity is another big hallmark of the process. So with that being said, a quick reminder, you've seen these slides 2 times before and one more last time. 3 big days. Each day had its own question. We're going to come up with a recommendation. We are the what team, and we will then be turning our recommendation over to the board for approval. And after approval, it comes back to the district to live for the next 3 to 5 years. So as we do that, there are pillars of the plan. We have a pretty great start on mission, vision, and values. And we will today put a great start to goals and strategies. And together, those pillars will make up the draft of the plan. The plan will be 1 page, front and back. But it will have the essence of what everyone needs to know about the future direction of the district. So our questions have been important because they have guided the collaborative activities that we have done together. And it's all in the spirit of the fact that strategic planning is about change. And it doesn't make any difference how great you are if you truly believe in continuous improvement. And this district has demonstrated that it absolutely has over the last 5 to 6 years, that continuous improvement will guide us to the future, and our plan will make us even better than we are today. So, products for every one of the sessions, and what's in the yellow there is the product for today. And at our very last meeting, we will be virtual. It will be a 2-hour meeting. And at that time, we will finalize our recommendation. We have had a schedule that has guided us along the way. And this is our 3rd final meeting together, with only 1 remaining, and that's on March 18 from 3:30 to 5:30. So we have quite a bit to accomplish today. We're going to reflect first on that preferred future statement, and then we're going to get into goals and strategies. So there are 4 activities that we're actually going to be conducting, finishing right at 12 noon. So here's the first one. The first one is to think back about what we have done, and I very quickly just want to remind you that at the first meeting, our product was the SWOT analysis. Okay? You will find that in your folder today, you have a copy of the SWOT analysis. We don't really need it now, but we will need it for a later activity. But visually, I just want you to know, if you look at the screen and you have a paper to document it, we identified the big strengths of the district. We could have put 50 to 100 on this sheet, but we identified what we felt were the really, really, really big things that made this district, District 25, what it is today. So those things are going well. And as we think about a strategic plan, we just want to keep doing those things. We don't need to change. We just need to keep doing them, because boy, they're humming and they're making us great. We did identify some weaknesses. The weaknesses are things we want to use today, because these are things that we found aren't going as well as we'd like. And we really think if we could address these things and make them better, it would move the overall performance of the district to a better place. And when it moves the overall performance of the district to a better place, it means it's better for kids. And that's what it's all about. We're student-centered. We identified some opportunities, some things that we're not doing, but hey, they're great ideas. And maybe we want to think about some of those as we think about our new strategic plan. And we identified some threats, some things that are out there that are happening that we got to keep our eye on, because we don't have direct control over them, but they could impact us, and we want them to impact us positively, not negatively. So important for us to understand the importance of the SWOT analysis. This activity we're going to do as a whole group, so if you want to comment, remember you need to turn on the mic. That's at your table. But I would just like for a few comments sharing your personal thinking about why is the SWOT analysis so important to strategic planning? Why is it so important?
Morning. Sharing, as I'm a parent in the district, but I'm also a board member, so sharing from my perspective as a member of the Board of Education, I have my own experience, understanding, and belief about what the district's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are, but my perspective is not necessarily going to be the same as other people in the community. Parents whose children went to different schools than mine went to. People who have children of different ages, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, have a very wide range of experiences that may differ from my own. So hearing all of the perspectives from the people in this room and from the people who responded to the surveys helps me tremendously get a better picture of, is my impression and belief of the district's strengths, does it match the community's belief about our strengths?
So to the point you made earlier about we could have put 100 or more things on that list, having these buckets allows us to focus and work on the future tactics for where there's more opportunity to improve, as well as the things that we want to make sure stay as good as they are and don't get left behind.
Thank you. I'm going to add on to that one for a moment, because I truly believe that if we could bring all of the district staff into this room right now, one of the things they would caution us about is overloading the system. Overloading the system means we will do nothing well. We will be mediocre at everything we do. Prioritizing the system and understanding the really critically big, important things will allow us to continuously improve. And a SWOT analysis very much helps us identify those big things. It was frustrating for you when I told you you could only put 10 in every one of the columns. There were some people who argued with me and said, "Can't I put 12? But there's a reason that we think about the really big things. First of all, there's no way we could afford financially to do all those things. And so really critically important, the SWOT analysis helps us prioritize. And to the second point that was made, perspective is everything. It's everything. And where I sit in this district, whether it's in a classroom, at a student's desk, as a parent, as a community member who has no one in the school system but I'm paying taxes, as a board member, I have a perspective. And the perspective might be a perception, and the perception might not be accurate. So, having opportunities for a large group like this to interact with one another And as I went around and listened to all of you, and you were so good at respectfully listening to one another, understanding what people were saying, and coming to some type of a consensus around opinions. And also mixing you up 3 times so that you had opportunities to be at tables with different people with different perspectives is another big quality, because we tend in doing that to come to something we can all live with. We can all live with. You produced last time a mission, a vision, and core values. It was a draft. I told you it was a draft. I told you we're coming back to it. We're going to make it better. I told you we're going to get perspective. We're going to get feedback. We're going to have more information to help us make it even clearer and better than your first draft. And that's really what we're going to do in this activity. But I want it clear to you that it is the SWOT analysis that helps us identify weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that will lead to today's work. We spent a lot of time looking at that data. We spent a lot of time collecting feedback. So the things that are on there really do represent the majority, the consensus of all of us about what's working and what isn't. So today, there is a packet in your folder that starts with preferred future framework that if you'd want to pull out, we'll be using that for this activity. And that packet just starts out with some reminders for you of what is a preferred future statement. I would tell you, if I had to choose one word for a preferred future statement, I would choose culture. If I had to choose 2 words for a preferred future statement, I would choose culture and relationships. I would tell you that the preferred future statement sets the stage for the work. If the preferred future statement is bright and happy and leads us to a place where we love to come to work, we love to come to school, we feel good about what's happening, the work is easier. If it's not that way, the work becomes much more problematic. So the preferred future sets the culture, the foundation, the groundwork for strategic planning. And there are some words in the first few pages that I'm not going to read to you, but I give them to you because as we work on this activity, you can refer to them if you'd like. But if you turn further back in looking at that statement, you're going to see that for the mission statement, you have what it is, and you have 2 options. 2 options. The first option was generated by you. If you look at the findings from the vision retreat, you will see that all 8 tables wrote something about mission. And I went through and together with Brian, we came up with what we thought was a good representative statement based on best practice about a mission. Together, we create an inclusive and caring community where every learner is supported, challenged, and prepared to thrive in an ever-changing world. That came from your work. We created 3 vision surveys. 1 to families, 1 to staff, 1 to students. They told us what their hopes, dreams, and aspirations were for the future. And with their work, we created the second option. Our mission is to support and challenge every learner through inclusive, high-quality education, preparing students to grow, contribute, and succeed in a changing world. There's quite a bit of similarity in the two, but two different options. And so in a moment, I'm going to ask you as a table team, which one do you prefer and why? You're going to be given a chance to go through and even write a new one if you want to. So your choice will be to choose option A, option 1, or option 2, to modify option 1 or option 2, or to write a new one. That process will be followed with vision. In vision, there are two vision statements. The first vision statement was created by you. The second vision statement was created by the 3 surveys. Our choices: choose option 1, choose option 2, modify option 1 or option 2. Somebody even asked, could we combine some things from option 1 and option 2? Absolutely. Or write a new one. So what we've done is we've taken lots of words and lots of ideas, and we're just narrowing them down to the point where we're going to get a final one. And our final one will be decided when we meet in March. So we're still drafting. But you're going to look at mission, you're going to look at vision. The portrait of a graduate is also on your table in a poster, wanting you to know you can make any comments you want about it, but remember that the portrait of a graduate is actually something this team will not finalize. It's going to be finalized by middle school students and by teachers. Right? And we will be doing that after plan approval. However, we want to give them some feedback. What you have on the poster is what they've done so far, so you're able to put some sticky notes on the poster if you'd like, in terms of suggestions. The final one would be the core values. The core values are identified, and it ended up that there are 8 of them. If you were to look up research right now about core values, they would say, what is core? And what they would tell you is core is simple and significant. They would tell you ideally, for everybody to remember them and for them to really be core, they would be 4 or 5. 4 or 5. I looked at all 8 of yours. I loved all 8 of them. So I had a very difficult time. And I'm not telling you you need to reduce them in any way. But one of the things we did to the core values, because you gave us compassion and empathy, we actually wrote a student statement as to, well, what would that mean? We care about people. So these were the 8 that you chose, and these were the 8 we put on the survey. So the survey went out, and in your packet you have a summary of the survey, but I'm going to give you the major points of that before we get into the activity. We mailed you the survey itself. In your packet you have a summary of the student survey, a summary of the staff survey. But here are the highlights. Students, 1,189 respondents. 95% of all 100 1,189 students said they could support either one of the mission statements that were there. For those who cared to respond about it, they actually preferred option 2, but only by 58%. Huh? Only by 58%. So it was rather close. 42% liked option 1. But notice that if we look at vision, 95% of the students said they could support either one. Now I'm going to ask for the mic to come on again and somebody to answer the question, what does it mean when you survey 1,189 students and 95% of them say they could support the mission and vision? What's that mean? Somebody choose to respond.
Means it's pretty good.
I would tell you, do you know how much I strive for? Do you know what percent I strive for? 80. 80%. Research says if you have 80% who support it, you have a large enough group to sustain it over time. So I just want you to know how unbelievable these results are. And to me, I take away from that, we don't need to do a whole lot to change much of what's there, because we already have amazing support for mission and for vision. 95% also supported the core values. They loved everyone belongs here. That was their favorite one. The one they could live without, we were going to cut one. We work better together. So again, if we're looking at core values, we pretty much nailed it. We don't have to do a whole lot, but we can do some tweaking if we want to. And of course, the portrait of a graduate, 85% of the people really liked it, but they're going to have more time to make it better. If we switch to the staff survey, whoa. I don't know that I've ever had 100% of staff agree on anything. And I'm sincere about that. 100% said they could support the mission statement. 95% said they could support the vision statement. That's tremendous. Tremendous. It tells me we don't need to do a lot. 94% like the core values. And the teachers are going to work on the portrait of a graduate. We do surveys to get feedback, and we want to use that feedback to help us make decisions. And I wanted to spend the time going through it with you to say, we don't need to spend a whole lot of time updating our preferred future statement because it got rock solid high results. Okay? Remember, we identified characteristics of a great statement. It's future-focused, it's directional, it's specific, it's relevant and purpose-driven, it's value-based, it's challenging, it's unique and memorable, it's inspiring. I dropped both mission statements into ChatGPT along with these characteristics. and I got a strong correlation between the statements we wrote and this criteria. The same was true in the vision statements. So I think we've done a pretty good job of where we are on the product, but we're still going to spend a little bit of time reflecting on it. So on your table, you have 2 posters. The first poster is mission, vision, and core values. The second one is the graduate profile. As you look at them, your job is to select on mission and vision, option A, 1, option B, 2, modify or write a new one. And then to provide any feedback on the core values and any feedback on the graduate portrait. Okay, so I'm going to be turning you loose now. And as we're looking at time, I'm going to check in with you at 9:30. 9:30. So you might want to have a timekeeper. You might want to know that we're not here to spend an hour on each one. And we'll look to be ready for activity 2 around 9:30. Call us over if you need any help. think of the younger ones, she has much more aggressive personality. She intimidates and she's learned English language. She's taught me fall. She says, Paul, you come very easily. You are a cylinder. And
Okay, brutal honesty. Brutal honesty is the best.
Dalvin is caramel and burnt smoke.
Oh my god. It's been calling not too long ago.
I'm not sure that I saw this video, but just for gameplay. I now have 3
Awesome. Yeah, right.
3. Not 1. Not 2. Great.
You're living in Japan. It's perfect for you. Caramel color too.
It's very perfect. Well, that's why we're
Right in the middle.
and I'm a big guy. You know, my degree is in Illinois, and I've worked a lot as a business partner, taught me about control rate. It gives me, when I choose to, choose not to, many times, interact with them. And I've been with you for 5 years. Right downtown Chicago for 20. Right downtown. Yeah. And prior to that, Superman. But I just think it's so that out of the mouths of and I don't think he could call me a lot worse.
Right. Right.
And she said, well, you tell good stories. She also, in real life, is she's also announced.
That's also the youngest. Going their own way.
Right now, she has chosen the University of Colorado. Just a quick interruption. You're doing really well. We're about half done with the time, and most of you are moving from vision to core values.
lots of meaning.
You have no idea what a mess for me is. In fact, it's so funny because the two Brians tease me all the time about my posters. And they said, I cannot imagine what your kitchen looks like when you do all of this stuff.
You have a long wall?
So anyway, when I got home this time, I couldn't get
You did.
I have posters everywhere. But my wife understands that it's only temporary and that I will absolutely never leave. And in the evening, if I'm not done, I pick them all up and then I put them all back out. Okay. So we have this little unwritten rule that she knows that's the way it is and it works.
Good.
But the posters are the best way. I looked at all kinds of things. I even tried electronically. The posters, for me, do it all. Because I can move them around. I can tear them apart. There's all kinds of things I can move with them.
It also works well for group participation, where you're soliciting thoughts.
It really does. There needs to be something that you all focus on. And I only need to take away that because it's the focus. But you can love.
On to the next.
Yes. We're going to need all the posters on the table today because you're kind of going to need every one of them as we go down. So,
All right. Thank you. The statement and the... Okay, so together we empower everything.
okay, I'm going to interrupt you. We are going to move on to the next activity. If you did not finish, don't worry, because as we go through today's activity, there will be time that you can return to this, and we're not going to remove any poster from any table all morning long. Okay? But I would just tell you we have 8 tables, and really 7 of the tables are pretty much done. Okay? 6 for sure. 1 could probably say, oh, I need just a little more time. And 1 needs more time. Okay? So I'm going to need you to move along with me because we're now going to move into thinking about what we mean by setting direction. Setting direction. We will be spending the remainder of the morning on the setting direction part of it. And to be honest with you, there are 3 things that we will be involved with setting direction. The first one is we're going to revisit the goals. You have 5 long-range goals. I will tell you that in discussion with the board, they're pretty happy with the long-range goals. They're pretty happy with them the way they're stated. They're pretty general. It can always be tweaked. But one of the reasons we decided to do the refresh is because we were pretty happy with mission and we were pretty happy with goals. Okay? So we're going to take a look at a moment at the long-range goals. A goal isn't a good goal unless it's measured. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we measure goals. However, it is not our job as a team to determine the measures. So the second part, the indicator measure part, is something we're going to talk about, but we're not worried about a product. There'll be some opportunity for some suggestion. The third part is the most important activity that we have done in all 3 days. It gets us to the last thing that we need to do, And it is to determine what are the main areas of improvement we need to focus on in the next 3 to 5 years. We call those strategies. Okay? So process-wise, for the remainder of the morning, we're going to be looking at long-range goals, some ideas for measures for those goals, and the key important work aligned to those goals that will move us forward in a healthy, productive way that's doable. So that's the big stage. So goals to indicators to strategies. You'll notice at the top it says action plans. We don't do action plans. Action plans will be done on an annual basis. The district will involve any of you as well as others who might want to serve on an action team. Every goal will have an action team, and every goal will develop annual plans for the strategies assigned to that goal. It's in the action plans that we decide the how. How will we go about improving that goal? And that's not our work. But I wanted you to see how the 4 parts all align together, how they work together. There will be an action plan for every year that the plan is in session. So we'll work on the action plan for goal 1. We'll see how we do. We'll progress monitor. We'll measure. We'll see where we are a year from now, and we'll develop action plan 2 for year 2. We'll carry that forward, and then we'll develop action plan 3 for the 3rd year. Action plans are built on the work that we do, and we don't do any of them ahead because we don't know where we're going to end up. Okay? But I wanted you to see the 4 parts. This is the work of the strategic plan. 4 pieces. By the way, these are the same 4 pieces that you did in your last plan. Those haven't changed at all. So long-range goals are those big things that if we do well, everybody's going to be really proud and happy and satisfied about Arlington Heights District 25. Okay. We are starting with 5 of them because you have 5 of them. Most districts have 5 of them. They have the same category, but the goal statement is different. So our first task is going to be to look at the 5 goals, the 5 goal statements, and to begin to think about, based on our mission and our vision and the work that we did at our vision retreat, how might we tweak the goal statement? So that's going to be the task. Important for us to know that a goal isn't worth the paper it's written on unless it has measures. And unless we can identify the metrics under which we can report to everyone how we're doing. Are we getting better? Are we not getting better? Are we flatlined? So very important for us to understand that along with the long-range goals comes how we're going to measure it. You have a reporting system now. It's not well known or understood by most people, but you have it. So it's not a case that we haven't been measuring our goals. It's just that we haven't been on a regular basis reporting. So that if I'm a classroom teacher and I know we're working on full-day kindergarten, which was one of the strategies, by the way, I know exactly where we are. I know if I'm a parent where we are. I know what we're doing. I know what we're considering. I know if we're making progress on that goal. That one I use because it's a perfect example of one of the things that was a strategy that you accomplished at a 100% level. Okay? So goals and indicators go together. A goal without indicators isn't really a goal. It's an activity. We can story tell it, we can talk about it, but we have no data to show its impact as to where we are. So we're more interested today in the goal statement, but we're going to look, as time permits, at some possible indicators, knowing that the final decision for the indicators will come with the Board of Education. It's nice for us to be able to recommend some things. Okay. When we write a long-range goal, there's another packet in your folder, and that packet is the one that's called the Alignment of Strategic Planning to Long-Range Goals, Future Strategies, Recommendations, and Suggestions from the SWOT Analysis and Vision. That's the packet we're working from. And if you look at that packet and you look at the first few pages of it, you're going to see that one of the things I wanted to share with you, because this process is based on research, is that very clearly we know how to write a long-range goal. And I wanted to share with you there are 8 factors that help us write a long-range goal. We use those 8 factors when we wrote your current goals. They're the same 8 factors we will use as we look to tweak the current ones. So just wanting you to know that we have some good direction in how to write them. Indicators of success are the one item that is missing in most district strategic plans. They have goals, they have strategies, they have action plans, but if you say to them, how are we doing, no one can tell you. They can't tell you what the impact is. They can't tell you if we're getting better. They can just tell you what we're doing. We call those goals activity-oriented goals. And in a strategic plan, we don't want activity-oriented goals. We want results-oriented goals. So we want to make sure that for every goal, we set up what are the indicators, what are the measures, and what are the targets. So we want to know every year, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to measure it, here's where we want to be, and did we make it? Are we on our way? Are we falling behind? It is the current piece of the district strategic plan, from my perspective, that is the weakest of your current plan. And please don't think for 1 minute that you haven't done some wonderful things. You have. It's just that this part of the system started out getting reported, but at some point only is being looked at internally, not externally. And a lot of people can't answer that. So as we get into the new plan, Brian and I have talked a long time about the importance of having a scorecard and being able to report so that we know all the time where we are around our goals. That's what makes a goal SMART, would be the indicators. The other thing would be the targets. Targets are where we want to be at the end of the year. it gives us something to shoot for. If I'm a student and I'm working on a project and I don't know what to shoot for, I'm not going to hit it as well as if I know exactly what to shoot for. Targets are critical. They're very critical, and we haven't been making good use of targets. So they're going to be part of the new plan, but it's not for us to decide. But since we're moving forward, I want all of you to know where we're headed, and I wanted you to know that part of living the plan is going to be to set targets. Who sets targets? The people who are responsible for doing the work. The targets are given to the board, and the board can challenge a target. But the board doesn't set the target unless the specific work is being done by the board. We know by research that if I'm on a team and I'm asked to do something and I'm asked to set a target and I am involved in setting the target, the chances are of reaching the target are double-fold of what they are if somebody hands me the target. Right? We all want involved. This is where I always tell my golf story. I come from a golfing family. My dad, truthfully, had 13 holes in one. My dad played at the collegiate level. I have one brother. He's younger than I am. He played at the collegiate level. He has an unbelievably low handicap. And then there's me. And I'm going to tell you something. I like playing golf. I enjoy it very much. But if I were to go play golf and my dad were to tell me that you have until June 1st to lower your handicap by 4 points, I would collapse. I would get so stressed out because I would feel I might be able to lower it by 2 points, but not by 4. But if he were to say to me, I'd like you to set a target for lowering your handicap, and I said 2 points, I would have a much greater possibility of making it. The point of the matter is this: if we're going to ask people to improve and set targets, and they have no voice in setting the target, the chance of making it is far less than if they do. On the other hand, sometimes we can be lazy, and we can set a target, and we can look at the target, and it becomes very clear, well, that's not pushing us where we need to go, so we can challenge a target. But so important for you to understand the indicators and how they're important. So we have best practices for setting indicators. So it's indicators, it's long-range goals, and finally strategies. Strategies is the real work. And if I think right now back to the SWOT analysis, and Brian's going to do this a little later, but I'm going to do it as well. When you think about all we learned about weaknesses in the district, what was your biggest surprise about what a weakness was for the district? What was your biggest surprise? Who's willing to share? Yes. Okay, a little louder so we can.
That teacher absences, the number of teacher absences were considered a weakness.
Yes. That was one that also was on my list. I might say That's a great strategy. Or I might say, well, we also had chronic absenteeism. The number of students who were part of the chronic absenteeism. So I might say a great strategy for this district might be improve attendance. Not just for kids, but for everybody. That's a strategy. It's something we know isn't working well that we need to put on the list. There are all kinds of ideas like that, and we're going to get to that. Brian's going to lead you through the activity in a moment. But I want you to know that strategies become, what are those big things we must put our attention to? Okay? And we have best practices for writing strategies. It's my job to incorporate the best practices into your work. But I don't want to do that without letting you know that this isn't what Perry thinks. This is research-based. And this comes from what we know. If we do these things, we're going to get better long-range goals. We're going to get better indicators. We're going to get better strategies. Okay? So they all work together. Weaknesses, opportunities, and threats lead to improvement strategies. So that's why when we get to Brian's work on strategies, we're going to want to pull out that SWOT analysis. Okay? So continuous improvement is our process. We're always going to look at where we are, where we want to be, and how we're going to get to where we want to be with best practices. We're ready to move into the activity. And on your table, you will find a summary chart. I'll explain what you need to do to the chart. In the packet that I ask you to pull out, there's some background information that I just gave you verbally. If you need to refer to it, it's there. You can scroll down. It's all in the packet. Okay? There was also a great publication that was done by the district that summarized the last plan. And I'm going to go through this really quickly. But the reason I'm going to go through it is that it has all three parts to it as to what we're going to do. So here we go. Goal 1. There's a goal statement. Refine and extend instructional practices, programs, and services to ensure all learners are academically ready for high school and beyond. Our task is going to be leave it, change it. We've given you some options to change it. You can leave it, choose one of the options, or write your own statement. What's interesting is that in that publication, they told you 4 things that were huge that have been accomplished over the duration of the plan. And they gave you a list of metrics, which are indicators that told us, here's where we are right now. Here's how we're doing. And by the way, some of those that are on that board are headed in the right direction, and a few of them are not. But that's where we are, and that's how we know what we're doing around that goal. Okay. Second goal, cultivate a healthy climate and culture that creates conditions and supports to meet the needs of all learners. Strong goal statement. Keep it. Couple options to change it, or write your own. They told you what their accomplishments were. Huge things. Things that are making a lot of difference for kids in the district. And they gave you their goal metrics, the indicators of success. Some are positive, some are flatlined. Some are really celebrations, some are opportunities for improvement. Goal 3, high quality staff. Attract, develop, and retain diverse, high quality, innovative employees. Strong statement. Keep it. Look at some alternatives. Write your own. Great accomplishments. Metrics. And finally, the last 2 goals, one on family and community. Strengthen family and community relationships to enhance learning, teaching, and partnerships. Accomplishments. Metrics. Indicators of success. And in that case, if you look at those and you see that the line between the 2 dots is going up, it's a celebration. If it's going down, it's not a celebration. Huh? But these are 6 things that we're using to decide if we're accomplishing that goal. And finally, the last goal on stewardship of resources. Demonstrate stewardship by allocating resources effectively and equitably. Some really big things we did. And our metrics. So I felt that it was worth the time to go back and pull out some of those things because I want you to know that's what we're going to do in the future. And our options are keep the goal we have, choose from among a few options to go differently, stretch us, write our own goal. So your task is to look at the 5 goals, to use the poster that's in front of you. In your handout, it will show you the options. So as we look at those options, you can choose one of the 3. You can choose one of it and modify it, or you can write your own. So you will see in your handout, for every goal, there's an option A, an option B, and option C. If you're looking at goal number 1 and you're going to your poster and you like option C, you circle option C. If you like option C but you want to change a couple words, you write the words below it that you want to change. Or if you choose option D, you can write your own. Any questions about what we're asking you to do related to updating the long-range goals? They're in a packet that is in your folder. Yeah. And they're at the end of the options. Okay. I think it's in packet number 9. Packet number 9. Are we all set? Okay. I'm going to check back in with you at 20 minutes after the hour. 20 minutes after the hour. Call us over if you need help. Just a little check-in. People need a few more minutes on this, so we're going to go till 10:30. Gives you about 10 more minutes to wrap up. We'll start the next activity at 10:30. Oh, yeah. Keep going.
Keep going. Okay. Right there. Right there. I love this slide. It properly situates where we're at.
This is a good one.
I just need to seriously go back to the.
Why don't I go and I move this slide?
Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Yeah, yeah.
But look, here's their chart. I don't think they need it. But they're sticky.
Yes.
Right there.
So, so like goal one, this is the current. This is the current.
Right.
Current goal.
Yeah.
Then the sticky notes are either their
Further strategy.
further strategy.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I had to go current because I don't know yet what the new one is.
Okay. If you could go move that, that'd be awesome. I love that. I love that slide. Put that right before mine.
How to do that? You let me know because otherwise I'll put one of those on every table. Whichever one you rather do.
I need this one. You mean versus the?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do this one. Yeah, I do that one. Oh wait, where did that red? There we go.
I definitely know which one you mean.
Yeah. So if you could move that to the beginning of mine, I think that's a good way to start and properly situate where we're at.
Yep. I'll go do it.
Okay, take another minute or two to finish the work on your long-range goals and move into strategies here in about 2 minutes. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to get a lot of good information down on your flip charts in the center of your table around goals. This is hard, right? It's, as I said last time, sometimes you just have to surrender it and say, we're good to go, and honestly lean into that strength in numbers concept, which means there's a bunch of other people doing the same activity you're doing, and when we put all of this together, we're going to have some really amazing input, and the product is going to be exactly where this community wants it. So that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. And so awesome work in terms of collaborating at your tables and coming to a consensus, but know that you're a small part of the overall process here, and there's other people doing that same thing. So we're going to move into the next activity, which is focused on strategies. And I put this slide back up that Perry talked about because I think this really helps properly situate where strategies live in the strategic planning process. If you look at this chart, we know you guys just spent a lot of time working on goals. We've worked on indicators, that second part. We're going to work on strategies as the third part, and then the action plans are the fourth part. The other way that I like to describe this is steps 1, 2, and 3 on this screen are really the development of the plan, and step 4 is really the living of the plan. Okay, so that's really the best way to look at it. So let's dig in just for a few minutes on the strategies, and I'm going to skip ahead a bunch. Okay, I'm going to skip to here. So what we're looking to do, we have 5 goals, right? And each one of those goals is going to have 2 or 3 strategies, or I like to use the term approaches. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between a goal, a strategy, an indicator, and an action plan. I like the term approaches because an approach is not granular as an action plan or a task or a priority list. But it's more how are we going to accomplish the goals that we set out to achieve. So a strategy that is aligned to a goal is a deliberate, coordinated approach, that's that word, for how an organization will achieve a specific goal, ensuring that the actions, resources, and priorities directly support that goal rather than working against each other. So I'm going to use an example from my own district to kind of illustrate this. I work at Lyons Township High School. We developed our strategic plan in 2021. And so like almost every district, we have a goal 1 focused on student achievement. So improving student performance, improving student achievement. That's goal 1, just like we have here in School District 25. One of the things that we were really focused on in improving in order to accomplish that goal was equity and access. So the strategy or the approach became increasing equitable opportunities for students. Does that sound like an action plan or a task list? No, it's still pretty broad, but it allows us to zero in on that concept or that approach in order to accomplish the goal. When we drilled it down further, then the way that we accomplish that strategy is through our partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools, which essentially, for those unfamiliar, EOS or Equal Opportunity Schools is a partner with us that identifies students who, based upon their academic background and profile, should be in advanced placement and dual credit courses, but are not. So that wasn't the strategy. Our partnership with EOS was not the strategy. That was more the action plan. And then you can drill that down even further. Through our partnership with EOS, there's a bunch of things that have to happen. Student surveys, monthly meetings, course placement with counselors. That was the granular work that really is baked into our action plan, but that wasn't the strategy. So I'm hoping that kind of illustrates how we're trying to properly situate this. Have a goal. This strategy is not too granular, but it's one of 2 or 3 kind of high-level approaches that we want the district to take in order to accomplish that bigger goal. So how do we define that aligned strategy? Obviously, the goal states what we want to achieve. That's our intent. We have that. The alignment, that's going to come through living the plan. So in other words, making sure that as we make decisions, as we introduce initiatives, and then we have metrics that support that goal. And I'll make a quick comment on metrics as well. You guys have spent a lot of time working on indicators, which we know there's about 5 to 6 per goal. We know that School District 25 and every other district looks at way more data than just the 5 or 6 metrics that are tied to each goal. Different terms are used for that, whether it's leading indicators or just data review. But we do have to identify those really important 5 to 6 metrics. So that's where, in the alignment part of the strategy, we want to make sure that the metrics support that goal. And then, of course, the strategy explains how we are going to achieve it. So that we talk about that what versus the how. The goal is the what. The strategy is the approach or how we're going to achieve it. So what are some of the characteristics of a really effective aligned strategies? Because this is the activity you guys are going to get into in a few minutes here. Is you have your goals. Now we're going to talk about what are those important strategies or approaches that we need to take over the next 5 years to accomplish those goals. We want to make sure it's directly linked to a goal. We want to make sure it's action oriented, and kind of differentiating between task lists and priorities. the strategy should be pretty high level. It should guide the tactics or guide the tasks that we're looking to accomplish the goal, but it's not necessarily going to be a priority list or a task list. We certainly want it to be measurable. So in our case, my example about the Equal Opportunity Schools Partnership, the goal is increasing student achievement. The strategy is equity and access. The action planning is our partnership with EOS. And the metrics on our scorecard, we have 3 of our 5 metrics are based upon the opportunity gap that exists at Lyons Township High School. So that's how all 5 of those, you really want those 5 to be aligned. Resource aware, we often don't like to talk about this, but we have a finite amount of time and money, and so we want to make sure that it has to be practical or has to be realistic in terms of the strategies that we're trying to implement. We want to make sure that it's resource aware. Being measurable as well, again against that scorecard, and then, of course, all of this should be consistent with our organization's mission and priorities. Okay, so what the goal of this activity today then is now we're going to take a look at, we have the goal, and this is probably going to be pretty, should sound very familiar. I want to go back to the slide that we had before because we've heard, this is the 3rd time we've been together, and the common theme is every time you guys have work to do, it falls into one of 3 buckets, right? And that's by design. So with our strategies in front of you, you actually have handouts on your table. You have your current strategies. You have some strategy possibilities that we created with the work that you guys have done. And then you also have the ability to say, I don't like the current ones. I don't like the possible ones. We want to write a new one. So it's the same 3 options here where you can select one of the 3 options. You can modify any of the 3 options, or you can say, I don't like either of those 2 steps. You can write your own long-range goal. So the first thing to probably do is find that paper in your folder that has the strategy possibilities. I'll give everyone a couple seconds to find that. Packet 10. You guys got it? You guys good? You guys are good? Okay, I think everyone's found it. Okay, same idea. We'll start at about 30 minutes, and we'll see where we're at after 30 minutes. You're going to review that packet 10, the current strategies, the strategy possibilities, and then maybe come up with some of your own individually, and then share that out as a table. And then you're going to chart them using Post-it notes. You're going to chart them on the big piece of paper in the center of your table that's titled the critical strategies. Sound like a good plan? All right. So take some time to just read through that packet first, and then jump into the table conversations. Another important piece of this that's in your folder is that SWOT analysis, right? And so the SWOT, your strategies should be linked to that or be driven by that SWOT analysis. So that's another really big reference document that you're going to want to refer to when you're doing this activity. And that's also in your folder.
There are a few questions. I just want to make sure we have all the questions down before we get into the activity. So this table has a question. Okay. This is how I would go about doing it. And you have a poster in the center of your table. It doesn't look like the poster up here, but I just drew this one quickly because I didn't have another poster. Okay? I would have a conversation with my table that said, goal 1 is student achievement. Let's look at the SWOT analysis and let's think about everything that we've learned and what are 1, 2, or 3 things we really need to work on. And I might look at that and I might say, well, one of them is rigor and acceleration. And I would write that on a Post-it note and put it up here. Okay? So I would go through all of them without looking at any papers. I would do it by thinking back on what I had. If I was going to look at something, I'd look at the SWOT analysis. We've discovered the SWOT analysis is not in your packet, but I'm going to put those up on the board in just a second. Okay? It is in your packet? It mentions SWOT, but it doesn't have the analysis in it. Okay? All right. But the point of the matter would be this. We're looking for big things. So when I think about it, I would identify with my table, what do we think are the big things? And I would have a Post-it note up here for each of the 5 goals. Then when I'm done, I would look at the packet that you're looking at, because what we did is we took the SWOT analysis, we dumped it along with the vision into AI, and they came up with the suggested ones that we should have. So I would look at what we did compared to what the analysis says to decide, do I want to change anything? But we could pretty much together, and we'll just do the first one together, all of us. Okay, let's stop and think. What were some things that very clearly were part of student achievement that were identified as a weakness or an opportunity? What were some things? Yeah. Okay. Here it is. Okay, it's up here right now. This was a SWOT analysis. Of all the things that were on there, what's something that resonates with you that relates to improving student achievement? Absolutely. Curriculum, rigor, relevance, and consistency. If I think that's a really big thing that we need to work on, I'd write it on a Post-it note and put it on the chart under number 1. I'd go down the list and I would see, is there anything else that's up there? Okay. Then I would go to number 2. Okay. If I'm at number 2, who can see something immediately that should go on number 2? Behavior, discipline, and consistency. If I think that's a big one, I would put it on a Post-it note and I would put it under goal number 2. Okay? If I'm looking at goal number 5, what do you see on here that might relate to goal number 5? Okay, it could be equity of resources and support. It could also be financial and structural constraints. So they're passing out now the full SWOT analysis. You look at all of the weaknesses, all of the opportunities, and all of the threats, and you put them up on the board. So it is your work. Then, when you are done, use the packet that Brian gave you and look at the 12 things that they gave us and see how what you have compared to what they have. You can add one of the 12. You don't have to add one of the 12. But when we're all done, we can have fewer than 12. Does that make sense? Does that help? Any other questions that anybody has? Have you got it? Okay, if I could have your attention. Here's the way we're going to do this, because we just had a problem with the handout, and it's no problem. We can handle it. I'm going to start right out with the weaknesses. I'm going to put it on the board. I'm going to give you a chance to look at the board and do whatever you want with sticky notes. Then I'm going to move it to opportunities, and then I'm going to move it to threats. So we'll all be looking at what's on the board. Okay. Are we all good? Yes. All right. There it is.
This one actually matches the one that's on the board. I think this one was our earlier version. Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to move the slide from weaknesses to opportunities, in case anybody wants to see that one. Okay.
us. So like 4 squares here.
All right, I could probably make a mistake cooking.
I'm going to draw you back together for the last time. I think everybody has about completed the strategy activity. We have 1 or 2 tables just making some last-minute notes on their chart. But I'd like to spend a little bit of time kind of putting it all together, wrapping things up, and certainly we want to end with some celebrations and appreciations. So most importantly, I began the day telling you that every one of our 3 days together has a product. Okay, everybody back together, please. Okay? Thank you. Every one of our days has had a product. The SWOT analysis was a big one. The preferred future statement, another big one. And today, what you're going to get back from me will be a draft of the plan. It'll be a 1-page plan, and it will have mission and vision, core values, goals, indicators, and strategies. It will be something that we will share broadly between now and the next time we're together in March. To get some ideas and final feedback, there still is an opportunity when we meet in March to do some tweaking. Okay? One more time to go back and do any tweaking. And there will be some really good feedback. We are certainly going to be asking people about their support for the plan. If they can support it, if they can't support it, and if they can't support it, why and what would enable them to support the plan. So we have that feedback that will be coming to you prior to the meeting to look at. And then when we're together, we will virtually go into 6 rooms. I'm sorry, 8 rooms. Okay? And when we go into 8 rooms, you will actually be with the people that you are with today. Okay? Same group. Because you worked on it today, we're putting you back into the same groups. And what you will have is primarily some time based on some summary feedback to do any change that you want to do. From there, it goes back to me, and Brian and I will go through all of your feedback, and we will put together his recommendation based on all of your hard work that we will take to the Board of Education. In addition to the 1-page plan, there will actually be a PowerPoint that traces all of the work that we have done from the very beginning. So that if anybody questions or wants to know about a decision or what input we looked at or what research we considered, they can dig into that and find out our process. There's a website that you've been looking at that documents every single thing that we do. So our work is very transparent. The process is very transparent. It will go to the board, and the board has three options: a yes, a no, or a yes but with these tweaks. Yeah? It's that possibility. I believe that we have involved the board enough, and I believe that after the last feedback session that we should have pretty much unanimous support for the recommendation that moves forward. But we've done a lot of really hard work together, and I think it's also important before we leave that we look a little bit ahead. I want to remind you, if you do the same things, you get the same results. So the strategic plan is all about doing things differently. As you listed 8, 12, 15 things on the chart paper in front of you, you would realize that whatever we're doing to address those 8, 12, 15 things, it isn't cutting it. It's not getting us to where we need to be. So those become the priorities that as we move forward in our process, that we will spend time figuring out what are we going to do differently. Strategic planning is solution-oriented, not problem-centered. We're not going to dwell on the problem. We're going to dwell on the solutions. And there are lots of possible solutions. We've never gotten into any of those. But they will all be assigned to 5 goal teams. There will be a number of people that can volunteer or be part of or appointed to those action teams. Each of those action teams will be headed by a central office cabinet member or 2. We will call those champions, goal champions. We have those at this point in time. We will continue that process. It is their job, along with the work that they are hired to do in the district, to lead out the goal action plans. And there will be a plan every year in order to move us forward with the strategies that have been identified. Really important for us to understand that we want to make sure that all the time and energy and things that you have done to create this plan produces a good return on its investment, a return on the investment of your time, your good thought, and your good work. We will be, as a part of the process ahead, reporting how are we doing, what's working, what's not working, how do we know, which gets us into looking at impacts and measures, and what are our next steps. It will be done on an annual basis. We'll accomplish a lot the first year, and we'll know what's next on the list. The problems that we are addressing that are part of the strategies that you have identified are not things that can be solved overnight or in a week. We would have already done that if that were the case. They're deeper problems. There's lots of possibilities, and we want people who are going to do the work to be involved in selecting what the opportunities are going to be to move forward. We may have some false starts. We may begin doing something, and as we begin doing it and measuring its impact and what we're accomplishing, that we find out we're not accomplishing anything, and we've selected the wrong thing. So we go back and we find something better to do. I find that in a lot of strategic plans, people work all year long And at the end of the year, they find out, did we have any impact or not? That doesn't make sense. We should be knowing that we're making impact along the way. Because why would we want to spend a whole year of money, a whole year of time, a whole year of work, only to find out at the end that it made no difference? So there is a very good tracking, monitoring, reporting process that goes with it. And that is something that once the plan gets approved, we'll be setting up with the district. We already have a good basis for most of it. We're just going to make some of those processes stronger than they were the last few years. Okay? So important for you to know that the work will begin. The champion is a really important role. And if I happen to be the person in the district who primarily deals with the resources of the district, I'm probably going to be the champion of that person, of that strategy, of that goal. If I am the person in the district that heads curriculum and instruction, I am probably going to be the champion of goal number 1. And the reason is we hire these people to do the work, and if we've identified this as the work that we need to do, and we're not assigning it to the people who have been hired to do the work, that makes no sense. So we align the work of the strategic plan to the champions. The champion's personal evaluation is to report the progress on the goal, how we are moving, what we are doing, what we are accomplishing. It puts accountability into the system. So there's a lot that goes with living the plan that ensures that we have a good investment on it. Now, that all being said, there is a good way to go about doing that and a not so good way of doing that. And I always give the example to people. I think about when I was a superintendent and I had to evaluate my cabinet team and I had to hold them responsible and accountable for goals, that I wanted to treat them exactly the same way that I would want to treat a student in my classroom who had goals and needed to accomplish them. I would want to set up the right climate, the right culture. I would want to set up the right support systems. I'd want to make sure that they had the proper training. I would want to make sure that they knew how much I valued them and how much I was there to support them. And you are very lucky because you have a superintendent who that's his style. That's what he does. And that's why this is going to be a great thing for the school district. And it's why I'm 100% sure that 4 to 5 years from now, when there are 60 people sitting in this room coming up with the next plan, that they're going to be really happy with what has happened over the last 5 years. So important again for us to know there's a structure. The champion leads the goal action teams. They have planning meetings, they have check-in progress reports. So there's a structure to make all of this happen with dates and times, and we all know where we're headed. So living the plan becomes really important. This is a picture that reminds me a little bit of when I leave here and I go home and I take all your posters and I walk into the kitchen of my house and I throw them up in the air and they just fall all over the room, and then I figure out, how do I organize them? And where do I go from here? And how do I honor everybody's voice And how do I make sense of that as we put together a communication that moves forward? I promise you, you've done great work, and I promise you, if implemented correctly, we will eliminate a lot of chaos, confusion, misunderstanding, overwhelmed feelings, lack of commitment, lack of ownership. We'll be much better of a team, much better of a unit, much better of moving forward together with shared knowledge, shared understanding, and shared accountability. Strategic management is what this is all about. And there are a lot of practices and principles in strategic management that educational leaders haven't had as a part of their training. And so it's really important that we recognize that in some cases, this is new territory. It's not really new territory in District 25. It's something they've been working on. The structures are in place. The people are in place. The passion is in place. The willingness is in place. The commitment is in place. So I can almost assure you there will be a very high return. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. So I'm going to turn it back over to Brian, who's going to deal with our closing obligations. But I do want to tell all of you, you have been a great team to work with. So much for your patience. Thank you so much for your persistence. There is not one more chart.
The only thing that could have topped that was you doing a mic drop. Phenomenal. Perry and Brian, one more round of applause for you guys. There were times in this process where it was obvious as an observer that there were points being reached that were causing stress or confusion or challenge. So I appreciate you guys working through those moments of challenge. I do find it anxiety producing when he starts talking about the gold champions and the work ahead and the sharing out. But that is our work. That's what we're excited about doing, taking the collective input from this group and then looking at what can we do with our staff to show the progress for student outcomes. So there were a couple groups that were recognized at the very beginning. I want to take a moment to recognize the other groups that are here as well. So thank you, Perry, for allowing me the opportunity to do that. We have a lot of staff members who had to write lesson plans in order to be here multiple times. We have lots of administrators that were also dedicating 4 hours times 3 during a school day to be here. Their work doesn't go away, just like parents, your work doesn't go away. So I appreciate you dedicating the extra time to be here to provide input. We also have a lot of parents who chose to be here. The board members who are also parents and community members were recognized, but we have a lot of parents who chose to take time out of their schedule and their lives to be here. I recognize what it does to the morning routine and the afternoon routine for you guys to be here. So thank you for putting up with that multiple times to be here. We do have one more opportunity to come together. That will be via Zoom, 2 hours in the afternoon. I recognize we're asking one more chunk of your time to give some input. I'm thinking about one more person I definitely need to thank for making sure this space is ready and available and all of the charts that you guys so wonderfully love when we put new ones on your table. So thank you, Lana, for preparing the space for all of our meetings. Publicly, I've not shared yet about what this person is doing soon, but they have recently verbally shared that they are looking at retirement soon. I don't have it officially in writing, so I don't believe it until I see it. And the board would still have to approve it, yeah. But coming soon, possibly in June, we will be seeing an end to this position. But thank you again for making sure this space is ready for all of us. It makes a big difference, so thank you. So before I hand it off to Anisha to close the official meeting, are there any comments that we wanted to share?
Just a quick question. Will the people who got moved around at the beginning of this meeting go back to their original tables, like Shay, Khalil, and Mr. Chaplin, or who I like to call Yoshi Bird?
Wow, it's made it into a public meeting at this point. Mission accomplished. If they're interested in returning, yes. If they choose not to return and stay where they're at, they can stay where they're at. Does that answer your question?
Khalil, come back.
Got it. All right, thank you very much. And now, Anisha.
Thank you so much, Dr. K. Okay, we've arrived at the second community input section of our agenda. If you wish to address any item on the agenda, please complete, or if we have any blue forms today. Lana? None. Okay, thank you. And I'd like to echo what Brian had shared as well. On behalf of the Board of Education, truly I want to thank everybody for being here today. You know, feedback is a gift, and your time has been so precious, and your commitment and continued a dedication to the strategic planning process. We really appreciate it. Each of you have dedicated since November 16 to 20 hours, and I know many of you did a lot more homework at home, going over all the paperwork and the homework that Perry gave us, always an educator, right? So, and collectively, that 16 to 20 hours times all of us here, that's a lot of time being put into the strategic planning process, and the board truly, truly values and appreciates your time, and to the district team, and of course to Sandy for the food that you're going to eat soon, and all the work that's gone into it. So we really appreciate it. And again, thank you to Perry and Brian. The board truly appreciates your expert facilitation of the strategic planning process. So thank you. So this is the time we're going to adjourn. Can I please have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
Madam Vice President,
Yes,
I
Kevin.
recommend that we adjourn this special meeting of the Board of Education.
Thank you, Kevin. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Liz. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. I'm going to, the motion carries. I'm going to ask our student Graham to come and hit the gavel to close out our meeting today.
Graham, we need to use it again.
Yeah. Go ahead, nice big bag. Okay, meeting adjourned.